Welcome to Chapter 3, where we're going to go through an entire series of natural light portraits of the groom in his hotel room. And I absolutely love this chapter, and the reason why is because it's designed to be incredibly accessible. You don't need any gear to do this kind of stuff. You don't need a fancy hotel room. You literally need any hotel room with just a window and curtains, and you can pull this stuff off. We are gonna set up the scene so we have a very simple wall. We're just gonna move a couple pieces of furniture out of the way. We're gonna use the curtains to naturally create flags, and we might even bring in a little reflector action to kind of modify light just a little bit. But throughout this chapter, pay close attention to what we're doing to modify the scene's natural light to get our images and how we're posing and communicating along the way. On top of this, from here on out, as you see us shoot, we're gonna sprinkle in all of the raw files as we're shooting unedited, so you can kind of see what they're coming out of the camera like. We'll have the information, the EXIF data there for those files as well. And then every now and then as we pop the right shot with the perfect expression and so forth throughout each scene, you're gonna see the final image show up. The final image is gonna have the same EXIF data, but we're gonna show you what the final image looks like and what the image would be delivered with post-production applied to it. That post-production is there for you in the post-production section. So we're going to teach you how to get each of those images from their raw state to their final delivered state as well. Okay, so inside of the hotel room, now this is an amazing room. Honestly, this is probably better than a lot of the rooms that we're going to be photographing in, but that's okay because the principles that we're teaching you here still apply anywhere. We're going to show you a lot of examples of rooms that aren't as nice. But let's do our location scouting in this room, and one thing that I want to show you all too is we still use Sunseeker even indoors. Why? Because again, we want to see where the direction of lighting is going, and we want to see that, right around 9, 10 a.m. is when the light is going to be coming a lot more directional in this room. It's going to come through these window shades, and it's not going to be, well, kind of as straight on as it is right now. Right now it's coming in basically directly behind, and it's coming in so we have this hard light entering all the way into the room. Well, by 9, 10, it's gonna be a lot more directional. It's gonna be a lot more on the floor and easier to work with, at least a little bit. You'll also notice that with these blinds, we don't have scrimming curtains. So if I actually walk around to this, and you can see just how hard this light is, because if I step into it like this, you're gonna see just, well, it's very, very bright. This is direct sunlight that's coming through. So we don't have kind of the scrimming fabric that we would in other hotels, and this makes this kind of a room a little bit more challenging because we have these open blinds. So not the end of the world. Here's the thing. We can create our own scrim using a reflector. So that's inside of the reflector, that scrim inside of a Westcott 5-in-1, you can hold that up to block light if you need. You can also use these, I guess these window shades as sort of a pattern. So you can use this as a pattern on the ground. We can kind of adjust these, and these might actually be broken, so maybe we won't adjust this. But in that case, what I'd probably do is just roll them up. Okay, so if we wanted to, if we like the pattern lines and we're going for a dramatic look, we can use it. Otherwise, what I would do is open these up, so that at least now we're working with solid light. So it's just kind of a big solid light pattern. What we can do is we can either decide to kind of shade it off of one area. So if I want to place the groom in a certain spot and I want there just to be a nice amount of directional light in that area, I can control that light now with my curtains and just kind of open to exactly where I need it. So that's going to be our control. Now, it would be nice. A lot of people feel like shooting in the SLS and around this property is very difficult. The reason why they feel that is because the rooms don't have these kind of scrimming shades on them. They have these, I don't know what those are. For such a nice hotel, it's kind of a little bit odd that they have those kind of blinds, but that's all right. We can work around that. We just need to make sure that we scrim. We need to make sure we close off light. And likewise, people think it's hard to shoot here because the downstairs area is very moody. It's very dark. It's very dramatic. Again, we just need to work on our placement of our subjects and then adding additional light to it and modifying. But when you do that, you're gonna get images in these types of properties that are unlike anywhere else, because it's gonna be very distinctly iconic and set to the SLS. So we have a really cool look here. One thing we want to be aware of is that we do have a lot of different mirrors set up. So we want to be aware that anywhere that we're shooting, if we're shooting in the direction of the mirror, we're going to catch whatever reflections are in the background. Keep your backgrounds clean. When you get into the room, one great idea is to ask the bride and groom and ask the groom during that wedding talk through, say, hey, I'm going to be coming up and photographing, or my second shooter is going to come up and photograph you. Would you mind getting your details all ready to go? You know, your shoes, they might not understand what details mean, so explain. Your shoes, your tie, your cufflinks, the pieces that you selected out to be part of your attire for the day. I would love to get photos of those. And during that call, it'd be great to ask them, hey, you know, if the room's a little bit messy, feel free to call housekeeping. Have them come up, clean the room, reset the bed, do all that, so that way when we're kind of photographing, it's a little bit more clean, a little less cluttered, and we have it looking nice and just, it's a great background as opposed to kind of a messy bed and things on the floor and that kind of stuff. So those are a couple things that we do just to get everything ready. Now, we're gonna go ahead and move into actually shooting the details. We're pretty much done inside the room as far as scouting goes. We're gonna stay probably mostly in this area. Now, quick note, we mentioned here that we're gonna shoot the details. We actually shot the day based on a typical timeline. So starting with details, then the groom showering, shaving, getting ready, portraits, and so forth. We are shifting that a little bit back because we feel like we wanna front load with the most important stuff, which is the posing and the portraits. That's gonna come first. And then we're gonna go based on the typical timeline, going through the details and everything else. So if you guys are looking for the details next, that's gonna come in a following chapter. But you guys can go based on the chapter or simply go based on what we've organized here. This is our last spot to location scout, at least for our purposes. And on this side of the room, well, I noticed a few different things. One, if we're shooting towards this direction, we're gonna probably be dealing with a lot more clutter and a lot more things in our frame. Right now we've placed a lot of our production items, but you can probably bet that if you have the groom and the groomsmen and everybody's in this room getting ready, that they're gonna be placing their stuff over here. So you're gonna have quite a bit of stuff to clean up. I do notice that I have a really cool sofa here and a really cool ottoman right here and some cool like little seats and stuff, which are great props to utilize. The only problem is I don't have good light direction in these areas. You know, like we have these open blinds in the background, which once again, we need to kind of open those blinds to get a better look in this environment. But even then, we still need to do quite a bit of light modifications. So not only are we gonna be doing cleaning to get the junk kind of cleaned up, but then we're also gonna have to worry about kind of the backgrounds and our subjects and the light that's on our subjects. So I can already tell that this is not necessarily the best area to be shooting. In this particular room, I'm gonna spend most of my time probably on that side until it gets down to if I need to photograph the groom and the groomsmen, and maybe they're gonna be utilizing this area because it's a little more open for getting ready. But even then, I'm still gonna do this. I wanna go over here and I wanna open up this blind. Let's keep this guy all the way open. I'm gonna hide this right behind here. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. So now we just have clean light entering. I can choose if I want to close it off, I can choose whatever I need, but I don't have those kind of distracting blinds in the shots in our background. If I do want to use those dramatic kind of lines, I could. But really, that kind of stuff is going to be more for fashion/editorial approach to those kind of images. So I wouldn't necessarily do it unless the bride and groom have that type of shot on their mood board. If that kind of identifies as them, their personalities, then go for it. Otherwise, it might look a little bit out of place with some of the other stuff that we're doing. Whenever I can, I will light with natural light as far as it's going to take me. And then we supplement with additional light as needed. I want to show you guys kind of finding the light, using the natural light in a room. This room is fantastic, and most rooms will have this, if not more, control of light, because most rooms will have scrims, they'll have other things, or not scrims, but the curtain shades versus no light. This is basically, you either use those, what are these called? Just call them blinds? Okay. These blinds are not that pretty to use. So most rooms will have the kind of sheer curtains that will let some light in, but that's okay because we can do a lot of work with this. So for example, right now, you can see where Heath is standing right now. He's close to the wall, and one thing we want to avoid is casting a shadow directly on the wall. And that means if I were to actually take a portrait of Heath from right here, and Heath, just bring your eyes over to the wall, or I'm sorry, over to the window. I'm going to go ahead and just adjust my ISO down a little bit. Let's go to 400 ISO. Let's go to 1/200th of a second and f1.4. So at this setting, I'm going to just drop down a little bit so I'm not kind of distorting. We have this shadow on the wall, which I'm not really a big fan of that. We also have this shadow on the right side because he's too close. So he's come off the wall. Okay, now as soon as he does that, that directional light now hits this part of the wall. Come off a little bit more, right there. Perfect. Now if you were to look off to this side, and then take a step out to this side, there you go. Perfect. Go chin down a little bit. Great. Now the light pattern that we're using is basically a Rembrandt light. So that light is coming in. We have a highlight on this side of the cheek. We have it closed off from the lip, so it's kind of closed off. We have the short side of the face lit. Broad lighting is if your chin were to be to this side. So, and bring the chin back a little bit right there. So right here, like point the chin right to my finger. There you go. So now the broad side of his face is lit. Now for a model, that's totally fine. It's not a big deal. But it is going to have the effect, since more of the face is in light, the face is brighter and we're seeing more surface area. So it's going to be a kind of widening out effect on the face. Versus short lighting, where we go back towards that has a slimming down look on the face. Okay, so generally the rule of thumb is that it's pretty much always going to be more flattering to shoot with short lighting, except in the rare cases that someone's face is already extremely narrow and you need to widen it out. So this looks actually really great right there. So bring the chin just a little bit this way. There you go. Go a little bit more. Perfect. Chin down a little bit. Let's define that jawline. That looks great. So usually if you're going, like usually with a 50, I like to go from head to about shins or to thighs. Because I'm shooting a little bit tighter, I'm getting a little bit too much distortion. So I'm going to go just a little bit in. Perfect. That looks great. All right, brother, right there. Okay. So already when we compare this image to the last image, look at how much more refined this is. You can just see the difference between those two. Shadow on the wall, shadow on this right side. So much better on this second one. Now let's do a little bit more. So I want to show you guys controlling the light in this kind of a scene. If we want less of this light to fall onto the background, we can do that. We can close this curtain and we can actually lift him off the background a little bit more by basically closing these off. So we're going to conceal that light, place him in a position where that light is coming in like kind of like a little shaft, right? So, I said shaft. I wasn't going to say. Okay, and then what we can do to further block out the light is we can use this guy as a flag. So if I bring my assistant in and I say, hey, can you hold this light like right here? And this has a hole in it. Do we actually have one that, I keep forgetting my one without a hole. Bottom. And block on. So apparently metal bed frames interfere with audio. We apologize for that. But at this moment, my assistant, I'm having him just grab that fur off of the sofa, or sorry, off of the bed actually, which you'll see later on. We use it actually for some detail shots. And we actually just used that and held it next to the curtain to flag off the light from hitting the background. You could use anything. It could be a couple bed sheets that are layered together so light doesn't go through it. It could be something else. Just anything that can block the light from entering and hitting the background wall. That's what we're doing here. It looks fantastic. Okay, look at this. So look at from where we went from that shot to this shot. With one simple change. I mean, all we did was bring something up to block the light. That's just something that we have in this room. And we get this nice, dark, dramatic background, which is perfect. It kind of really brings him out and he pops against it. It's not getting so dark that it's black. It's just nice. It's just nice. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to do one other thing. I know we have assistants on our shoots. A lot of people say, well, what do I do without assistants? Bring a stand. The light stand is very easy to carry around. The Manfrotto Nano stands, they're super simple. You can prop that up and place a reflector right on it. Or just ask friends. Like, the groom is going to have friends there. They're going to have people there that can help. It's totally doable. So I'm going to grab Neil, who's one of our groomsmen. So Neil, you can even stand here and see this too. Stand right here. See that shadow on his face right there? Watch as it deepens, because what we're going to do is remove You see that? So bring that up, and generally we don't want to use one that has a hole in it. Just a little note. Perfect. Bring the chin over to this side, and then what I'm going to have you do is notice how we can control how much of the wall is being hit when he opens versus closes. So I'm going to have you close. There you go, just like that. Solid. And I'm getting, so this, that little bit of light that I noticed on the wall, I just placed my hand in front of it, kind of analyzed it, and looked at that, and that light was coming, this source that I'm about to close off, that's like 30 feet away, and we're getting light coming in from that side. So when you notice things like that, pause for a moment and try and figure out, where is that light coming from? What can I do to kind of modify and get this to look better? Simply make the adjustment. It does not take that much time to set up a scene correctly. And then once it's set up, you can just shoot to your heart's content, and all your images are going to be awesome. So keep that in mind. Remember, put your hand in front of it, identify where the shadow's coming from, go and find it, and then control the light source. So let's go through and do a series of portraits. So Heath, right there, I'm going to have you squint a little bit out the window. As soon as you get your shot set up the way you want it, bring up the information on the shot, check the histogram in the back of the camera, because that's going to be the only identifier to really tell you what shadows are actually retained in your images versus what is clipped, and what highlights are retained versus what is blown. Use that in conjunction with the highlight alert like we've taught you before in Photography 101 and all those other courses. Yeah, folks, it all applies. We're stacking and building on your education. But it's really important, especially in scenes like this where you have a lot of shadows, to make sure that your shadows are not clipped. That looks fantastic. Perfect. Bring the hands up to the tie. Let's adjust the tie. I'm going to go in close. Bring the, kind of look out towards the window. There you go, right there. Soft smile to the lips. Think about your wife to be. Wherever she is right now. Wherever she is. That smile's fantastic. Dig that. Great. I'm going to get just a little bit back. Perfect. Okay, when we button the button on the vest, just make sure it's kind of tightened up. There you go. That's fantastic. And then I'm going to have you go ahead and put on your suit jacket. Bring that light up. Bring my flags up on both sides. And now I'm going to shoot wide enough. What I want to do to make sure that I'm getting wide enough is I need to show the opening of the legs at the bottom. If I don't do that, then it's going to look a little bit awkward, because it'll look like he doesn't have two legs. So for example, Heath, if you're to bring your legs in close together, yep, just like that, and look out towards the window. Without this, his legs are too close. So now open back up, and go ahead and keep kind of like making your adjustments. There you go. You can see how much better it looks with that open stance. We can see he actually has two legs. That's an important thing. That's fantastic. Go ahead and button that top button of the jacket. There you go. And chin out to the side. There you go, right there. From right there, hold the hands right there, and then bring the eyes to the camera. There you go. Soft smile. That's fantastic. Get that close-up detail. But check this out, bro. We could totally fool your dad. Let me get a couple other shots, Heath. I'm going to do just some close-ups also while we're here. So bring the chin just a little bit into the light, then chin down, and now eyes towards me. Perfect, right there. Soft squint. Let's make sure that we're getting sharp and good stuff. That's fantastic. Smile. Give me the full smile. Give me the real deal, baby. There it is. Dude, that looks fantastic. And then look towards the window a little bit. Right there.
Bring the hands up to adjust the tie. Get that shot with the suit jacket on.
At this point, I'm set up. I'm on my 85. My settings are great. I've dialed in my lights. Everything is good. And now I'm just going to work through this scene of portraits, showing the details of his suit, his attire, everything, his watch, as he's adjusting and getting kind of cool, interesting in-action detail type shots, working in for some closer portraits, out for some longer portraits and everything. I'm getting all those different shots. So keep in mind that once you're set up, don't just shoot the same thing over and over and over. Start working into those different pieces that you're going to combine into the story of, say, the album.
I want you to do a step, like almost like you're kind of just leaning back and then kind of taking a step forward. You know what I mean? And while you're doing it, adjust the tie and look towards the window. And then come to the camera. Right there. This video is all about controlling your frame and understanding that, hey, you don't need the best background and you don't need to set up all sorts of crazy lights to have a 1, a 2, a 3 light setup. Use what's existing and control what you're showing with your frame, with your lens and your composition. Case in point,
Tuesdays means tacos. Because I know y'all are wondering what they're eating right there. Taco Tuesday.
A lot of hotel rooms actually have these corner windows like this, where they'll have a curtain and a curtain. And as soon as you see that, you go, that's a perfect place where I can get a 2-light setup without even setting up any lights whatsoever. So what we're gonna do is, this might be a place that we can actually get our full-length shots that we couldn't do on that side, because on that side we were limited in space and so forth. So let's actually try that here. What we're gonna do first is, Heath, I'm gonna have you stand right here. Let's first get one light right. And so this is the funny thing. When we teach flash, we teach the exact same thing. Start with one light, get it right, and then add in your second light. We're going to do the same thing, but we're just going to do it with natural light. So let's do this. Let's close off both these curtains. It's going to get real dark. Okay. What we're going to do is get one light right along with his position. So Heath, I'm going to have you stand right here. And come forward a little bit. There. Okay, so that's my first light. Next, I'm going to go for that backlight. So actually, Mike, why don't you adjust this so that I can see it from this side? So I want you to open up the right side all the way and then close off the left side. So keep closing so that way you get more background. Yep, keep closing right there. So what I'm looking for is, can you guys see this edge on his body right here? This edge is what's going to define him out from the background. So that is fantastic. This is all just simply natural light, guys. Seeing the natural light in any kind of a scene. Now, Mike, if you were to hold the right side of it open a little bit more so we get a little more light coming in, there you go, right there. Okay, I'm going to shoot from back here, so what I'm doing is I'm closing off the frame a little bit so I can kind of control my composition.
Hold up, wait a minute. Video guys, I want you guys to show everybody at home the side by side. I want you all to see this. On the right side of the frame, we have people eating. If you see the entire frame of what we're shooting, I mean the window on the left and the window on the right, you see it in the video versus the actual photograph that we're taking. It is a huge, dramatic difference. And it simply comes down to choosing what we want to show and making sure that we're controlling that light in camera. So I'm using the left side of the frame and actually using the curtain to kind of block out where the window light is entering. That preserves our overall contrast. So we're making sure that we don't see anything else. We're shooting fairly tight, and we're also using objects to kind of conceal. We can move in and out through this entire series, getting close-ups and everything, and we're literally next to 8 guys eating. We are in a crappy scene, and yet the photos are looking awesome. So whenever you walk into a scene, I want this little piece to be a reminder to stop, slow down. It doesn't matter if your scene looks bad. Think of it from the perspective of a lens. Remember what we talked about? The more beautiful a scene, the wider you can shoot, right? The less you have to work with in a scene, the more junk you got, you get tighter.
Let's go from this side. Go from this side. There you go. Just going to darken Heath up a little bit. Look down as you're adjusting. There you go. Chin up a little bit, eyes down. And then bring the eyes to the camera. Bring the hands down, relax them to the sides. Give me a smile. That's fantastic right there. Hold that. All right, guys, so look, we have a 2-light setup. Look at this. An edge light on the right side of him. We have beautiful graduation in the curtains. Fantastic look. We have full length. We have tight shots. All of that from just existing light and controlling it. Once again, look at everybody. We're all having lunch here. And so I want you guys to walk into a room. When you walk into a hotel room and you see a mess, don't think of shooting wide. As we have the kind of more messy, the worse a scene gets, the tighter our focal length gets. So we're shooting tighter, we're focusing on less of an area, and so these techniques you can do literally anywhere, okay? Utilize that natural light. Understand that if you have a setup like this, you can simply modify, close and open to create those types of basically light modifiers. We're creating strip boxes with the windows and using natural light to create that 2-light setup. Easy, you guys can do this anywhere. Let's move on.
Sitting poses are going to be very similar to standing poses. Now, as we are setting up this scene, what I'm doing is I'm having Heath take a seat right on that sofa, and we're gonna use that window light by controlling the curtains to kind of get the right kind of light spill entering the room, the right light direction, and the right, basically, light amount. Once he's placed there, we're going to begin posing him. And remember this, the easiest way to begin posing when sitting is to make sure that the person's sitting towards the edge of the sofa, not in deep on whatever sofa or chair or whatever you have them sitting on. Also, any objects that are overly soft are going to be rather difficult to pose them well in because it's hard not to sink into them. So just a little heads up as we go into shooting Heath sitting down. Let's do that now.
So now that we're sitting, I want you guys to think that the same rules are going to apply basically when sitting. So working again from the feet up, we want the feet in a wider stance. Now, when sitting, we can have a little bit of a wider stance than you would when standing. So this is totally fine. But what I am going to do is, even when standing or when sitting, we can have the feet staggered a little bit. So rather than having the feet at both the same kind of spot, one foot can go out a little bit forward in front of the other. There you go. And then you know what you can do to make it a little bit easier is sit kind of closer to the edge of that chair. There you go. So it's a little bit more like staggered, a little bit more natural. Now working our way up, so we still have that strong stance, feet pointed outwards. Show them how weird it would be if your feet were actually close and pointing inwards. Yeah. Does that not have like a little boy kind of childish look to it? It has this very small and lack of confidence type of look. So I want you guys to think of all of these things as you're posing, because these types of things, they make a huge difference in body language and what we're trying to say. So go back to that stronger stance again. There you go. Okay, so opening up and taking up more presence. Great, so moving up to the hips and the spine. So look at this. This is a comfortable pose to be in when sitting. You can see the round of his back. You can probably see it from that camera right there. See this round right here? So see this round? It's not really a noun.
You just made it one though, so it kind of works.
See this round? Okay, so the rounded spine is something that we're gonna avoid. So what we're gonna do is kind of straighten out the spine. You can still lean forward, but I want you to still remember to have that curve in the lumbar and straighten on the other. There you go. And then what you're gonna do basically is just lean forward a little bit more. There you go. Okay, so we straighten up a little bit and prevent that curve. Okay, that looks fantastic. So up to the head, same thing again. We're going back to straightening out the spine, and that all works. Down to the hands. The hands are currently, if you watch, they're at rest, right? So it would be totally fine if you were to adjust the watch in this kind of a position. It'd be totally fine if you were to do something like, you know, with the tie. Although typically from a standing position is when we're gonna be adjusting the tie, so we'd probably do that. But from here, we can follow these rules and just do a little tweak here and there. So for example, if I want to get a shot of just his face in a strong kind of portrait, I'm going to bring his chin right over this light. Okay, chin down a little bit. There you go. And from right there, I'm going to say bring the hands up, like kind of perfect, just like that. Okay, and you have this great portrait right straight on. Okay, now with the curve back, curve your back in versus sitting up. Yep. You see how when he curves his back, we lose the shoulders. He kind of gets a little bit lower. We lose the height. So bring the back up again. There you go. And you can even sit closer to the edge on the chair. That always helps a little bit. So bringing his butt closer to the edge helps a lot, because what happens is when you're sitting too deep, sit deep again on that. So it makes it so the sofa's right at the edge of his legs, so it prevents him from staggering. It makes it just more difficult to do all these types of poses. So come to the edge, there you go, perfect. And then you can do other things. Let the hands kind of cross over and just do something a little bit different. If we make the hands do the exact same thing, it's gonna look a little bit awkward and unnatural. So let the hand just kind of relax how you normally would. Perfect, just like that. And we adjust and control the face. Now, the other things we can do is lean back a little bit and bring a leg up. So like kind of like that relaxed cross-legged position. These pants are really tight, right? Okay, so this would totally work. Again, gauge it based on, you know, if we have like skinny jeans on, it's probably not gonna be the best stance, but I think I can probably demo this one. Let me take this out of my pocket so I don't squish it. My pants are looser. So crossing of the leg and then leaning into it, having a hand down, we keep the same rules. So straighten out the back and lean forward. Bring the knee up so it's comfortable. You'll know when it looks awkward because they're either gonna be craned over too much because they're trying to basically, like their leg is too low, or it's gonna be up too high and they look like they're scrunched in. So open them up, bring the foot out a little bit, let them cross. You can do whatever you need to with the hands, but we still keep the hands at rest. We still keep the spine straight. All the rules still apply when sitting. Now there's other shots too. So there's other shots that go into a editorial and fashion and kind of an arena that I feel like they break all the rules, and it's totally okay to do that. But some of them don't necessarily apply to the type of portraiture that we're doing for a groom, for the groomsmen, for a wedding day. But some of the things that are done is like you'll get really cool and artistic kind of editorial portraits of things like covering the face, you know, like people will bring their hand up to the face and kind of cover the face and look into the camera. But if you do that on your wedding day, it's a little bit weird. Like, why? You know, like I've seen shots where they'll put them, you know, like they'll split the light and they'll look directly into the camera. So you're the camera, and like they'll basically leave one side of the face dark, split the hand, the face with the hand, and look directly in the camera. It's really cool close up. Makes a really interesting portrait. But again, the question is a little bit like, why would we do that? Yeah. There's other things like you'll have shots of guys where they'll be in the kind of scrunched model look, right? So when you're doing like modeling and like editorial fashion and that kind of stuff, these rules, it's all about the clothing, and it's about the way that the clothing hangs and about showing off form and figure. So like having a bent back is not the end of the world, but it's kind of weird to be doing that kind of stuff for a groom type portrait. There's certain shots where we bring the hands up and put them behind the head. This is a great portrait for like editorial stuff, for celebrity headshots, for, I mean, not celebrity headshots, but editorial type celebrity work. You'll see a lot of shots that use this. But again, why would a groom be doing this and kind of these kind of shots? It doesn't make sense to me. So those are the things that, yes, the rules, once you understand them, they get broken a lot and you can break them. But for the most part, with this type of stuff, we're looking for just nice, masculine portraits that look great, they look natural, they look like things that he would be doing normally. If a groom is gonna do this stuff on his own, then fantastic. I'll let him pose and sit and stand and do all these things on his own, but generally, most grooms are not gonna understand how to pose, and so we're gonna help and coach through this process. So let's jump into sitting poses. So Heath, why don't you go ahead and have a seat? So what I'm gonna do now is we're gonna figure out the light on Heath's face. So for these sitting shots, I want him to kind of look off to this side a little bit. And I want to get a really cool dramatic light on his face, which means that I want that light to bounce from this side and land on him here. And what you'll notice is when we open that, so open that curtain, we get this light that kind of fills into the background quite a bit. So as we wash everything out, we end up losing the drama in the scene. So what we're going to do is close that right there, and for him to kind of pop out. And we get that right about this point. That looks fantastic. So this is right at 1/200 of a second, f1.4, and ISO 800. Get this really great dramatic look to the image. Heath, chin up just a little bit and then bring the eyes towards me. Okay, now bring the hands up like kind of like this. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Now eyes to me right there. Give me a little squint. Perfect, very cool, very easy. If we need any bit of a fill, why don't you grab that white? If you want to open up some of the shadows a little bit, it's very easy. Grab a white reflector and we can open up that fill. Now you're going to lose some of the drama. Remember that anytime you open shadows, you lose drama. So bring it right there. Perfect. I'm also making sure that kind of like my background is clean. I've got great leading lines, and you can see in these two shots. Heath, from right there, look up into the camera. Give me a smile. Smile for your lady. That's such a weird line. Who would say that? Who says that kind of stuff? I do, baby. All right, smile and look off to the right side. There you go. Like your boys cracked a joke. There you go. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to start widening out now. So Heath, we're going to kind of pretend like we're not here at the moment. Just kind of look off to the side. There you go. Okay, now I'm shooting these a little bit wide because I'm intending on doing square crops. Heath, look back into the camera. So for all of these, we're just shooting a little bit wide. If we want to, I'll show you the actual composition that I'm going for. Sometimes I'll do this, especially if I'm on a high resolution camera and I know I just want a tight crop. I'll actually just shoot on a little bit wider of a look in the lens. But we might as well just switch off. We're not in a rush. That's great. Right there, Heath. And do me a favor, Mike, can you hold... I actually really like the highlight. It looks fantastic. But can you hold the that dong thing? Okay, I just jumped up to 1600 ISO just to make sure that I have the shadow detail I need. Look out to the right side again. Bring the chin back a little bit. I want to make sure the nose doesn't break the plane of the face. There you go. And then bring the hands up. Contemplative smile. Squinch a little bit. There you go. Smile for the lady. I want to know what you're thinking when I say that. So I'm going to show you one quick thing. Just one small thing that I'm noticing right now is that I see a little bit of that sofa peeking out from his right side. So I'm just going to shoot a couple more in that sequence. It's not a big deal on these ones because his shoulder covered it up. But for this one, just scoot a little bit this way, Matt. I'm sorry, Heath. Mike, hold that right there. There you go, right there. There you go, right there. Perfect. We'll just make that small adjustment to have kind of the sofa poking out on both sides. Look down to the right side. Smile to the ground a little bit. Contemplative. There you go. Laughing. Look up to the camera. There it is. You look confused. No confusing. Chin up a little bit. Squint the eyes a little bit. There you go. Perfect. Solid, brother. Those look fantastic. Okay. So we got some great sitting shots. We got some great standing shots. We're done with this scene. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one.